Move on and connect with the management of for Gokaldas Exports. We've got Mr. Sivaramakrishnan Ganapathi as promised. Thank you so much, Mr. Ganapathi, for joining us on ET Now. Let's talk about your business, because as things are gradually opening up, has your demand recovery been strong in Q3, and how far would you say you are from the pre-COVID levels in terms of your capacity utilization?
So in the quarter of Q2, we were about 90% levels of pre-COVID levels. And I think by the fourth quarter, we should see, us almost leveling up to pre-COVID levels, or maybe even, if there's some additional tailwind, we might even surpass it. So overall for the year, we may still be lower than the previous year, but I'm anticipating that FY22 we should be well ahead of pre-COVID levels. So for the moment, we seem to be getting some traction, and hopefully by end of the year we should see COVID behind us.
All right, fair enough. So looking rather optimistic. And in terms of your exports, though, given that you saw an 8% growth in Q2, is that momentum continuing? Has it further accelerated? And if you can, just tell us what kind of growth we can see in the coming quarters on the export front.
So export has been growing, and again that is on back of a few things. Q1 most of our factories were shut, so there was a lot of pent up demand which we catered to in Q2. In Q3 we will be producing for spring 2021, and if most of the Western markets in spring 2020, which are the months of March, April, May, were largely shut on account of COVID. And there will be an inventory overhang in the system. So there are a lot of moving parts here. But that said, if you look at the more macro fundamentals, the demand is robust for lower value garments, more of the casuals, and that has been growing. The online business for most of our brands has been growing in a fairly robust clip. In fact, many of them are reporting 50-60% growth over previous years. And that's kind of, making up for the shortfall in in-store sales. And people are still coming and buying. In fact, Black Friday in the US was reasonably strong from a sales standpoint. So all of these are indicating that the end user demand is robust, which in turn means that demand for suppliers like ourselves, which are high quality suppliers, will continue to see some good traction going forward. Seasonality blips may be there here or there, but by and large, as I said, by Q4 we should be catching up to pre-COVID levels, or maybe even going slightly ahead. So exports is showing some promise, particularly in the quarters ahead. We are almost at the end of Q3 now, right? So we are really looking at Q4 and beyond at the moment, and we seem to be seeing some good traction coming forth from our customers. Notwithstanding some pandemic-related issues in Europe, there is reasonable traction, and I hope it will grow going forward.
Sure. In terms of the product mix currently, between leisure wear, summer wear, just share with us how things are changing, what perhaps you're looking at or concentrating on, how margins are also looking, or where they're better given the current scenario.
Standpoint, obviously, what's selling is more of casual wear and slightly lower on the fashion cycle. That's where bulk of the demand is. And we have realigned to what products are available for, from a demand standpoint, and catering to those. Very high value garments which are retailing in excess of say $60-70 are not selling as well. For example, blazers, suits, etc., which are like $200 or thereabouts. They're all not selling as much. Most of them are down by 70-80%. But when you look at casuals, they're almost up to pre-COVID levels. So we have pivoted to those products which have fairly good demand. Women's wear, casual wear, even men's casual wear, etc., are what we are focusing on at the moment. Anyway, what we're producing now are for spring and summer, which are primarily India's strength, because a bulk of what gets produced now uses cotton, viscose, etc., which are produced in India. So we seem to have good traction. The other factor to keep in mind is that, regardless of end customers' demand fluctuations, suppliers like ourselves may not experience as much of demand fluctuation if we are a great supplier. So a drop in demand for my customer need not necessarily translate into a secular drop in demand for all their suppliers. A supplier who is a great producer, who's consistent in quality and delivery, would always experience less drop or even a growth compared to the others. So we have to ensure that we are consistent in what we do and we consistently produce high quality goods and deliver on time, and which is what we're doing. Which in case means that in whatever supplier consolidation happens, we come out on tops and gain out of that. So that's the effort which is going on, and I just hope that Indian industry can really grow coming out of this pandemic by working to our strength. Gokaldas definitely is working towards it and making sure that we retain our share and keep growing. You also asked on margins. So for this financial year, we have also done a reasonable amount of cost restructuring. And all of those are also helping us from a margin standpoint. Our margins Q2 margins have only improved, and we are hoping that, as we go forward, we'll be able to improve our EBITDA margin by 1% or 2%. We are working towards it. It'll, in the next year, we are working towards delivering a better margin.
Okay. What about cotton prices? The kind of impact you see of those, they have moved up. Any impact of that, particularly in the second half that you're anticipating?
So there is a problem. There is an issue with that. Like, cotton and yarn prices have gone up, and that means my raw material prices are, slightly edging up. We are a large player, so we do have some sort of a buying power, and we are working with our suppliers to make sure that our costs don't go up much. And since we are largely a fabric buyer and converter into garments, we tend to pass that on to our customers. So we don't tend to keep a lot of those, absorb those costs. We will try to move it on to our customers if to the extent possible.
All right, so that's on cotton as well, and the kind of implications that we're seeing of those prices. Now, given the case count in Europe as well, and Pfizer now getting that approval, that's just one company, of course, in one country in the continent. Again, how are you anticipating things or business really recovering when it comes to some of these regions? How that's likely to impact business going forward?
Sure. So business is sentiment driven as well, right? Having multiple companies succeed in producing vaccines is good news. Having one country like UK announcing that they are going to administer vaccine is encouraging. Hospitals have more or less geared themselves up for treating corona patients, unlike say 6 months back when there were a lot of challenges in the treatment protocols. Now people are able to effectively handle a corona patient. So by and large, the world is gearing up towards normalcy. That's what all these indicators seem to be pointing to. And consumers will then get the confidence in going and buying goods and starting to live up. And you can see that from currently the demand for products. Right? People, while people have scrounged on leisure, travel and tourism and all of those kind of things, and even spending on entertainment, spending can continue to happen on retail products like apparels and other things. So a bit of demand can be aided by people spending, especially during the holiday season. And with encouraging news all around, it's only a matter of time before people will start coming back to consumption. Most of the governments and the markets are also encouraging them going in that direction. So I treat all these events as a step in the right direction.
Mr. Ganapathi, great talking with you this morning, and thanks for sharing with us details of how things are shaping up. We need to take a very quick break. We'll be back in just a moment.